Behind Bars, a day in the life of a maximum security inmate. For more real crime stories, be sure to subscribe, like, share, and let's discuss your thoughts in the comment. The siren screamed through the cell block, sharp and cold, cutting through the silence of dawn. It was 5:03 a.m. inside Redwood State Penitentiary, one of the toughest maximum security prisons in the United States. Guards rushed down the corridor, their boots hitting the concrete in rhythm. Something had happened inside Cell Block D, the part of the prison every inmate feared most. When the doors finally slid open, chaos poured out. 2 inmates were pinned to the floor. A guard shouted orders, and in the corner, Marcus Reed, known inside as Reezy, stood against the wall, his orange jumpsuit splattered with someone else's blood. His hands trembled as officers pointed their flashlights toward him. The air smelled like metal and sweat. "Hands up," one officer yelled. Marcus didn't move. He just stared straight ahead, his chest rising and falling slowly, eyes hollow. One of the guards grabbed his arm, but Marcus whispered something almost no one heard. It was supposed to be breakfast, not a war. The noise faded, and for a second, the world inside the prison froze. How did a man who was only supposed to serve time for a robbery end up standing in a pool of blood before sunrise? To answer that question, we have to go back to when Marcus first arrived behind bars. When Marcus Reed entered Redwood for the first time, he was 28 years old. The gates closed behind him with a sound that felt final. He told himself he could survive this place by keeping his head down. But inside a maximum security prison, keeping your head down was almost impossible. From the moment the lights came on at 5 a.m. for headcount, every movement mattered. He had 5 minutes to fold his blanket, line up for inspection, and keep his eyes forward. A single wrong look could mean a fight. Breakfast wasn't bacon and eggs, it was cold oatmeal and black coffee. Inmates sat at long steel tables, split by gang lines invisible to outsiders. Marcus quickly learned where he wasn't supposed to sit. By 8 a.m., it was work time. Marcus worked in laundry, sorting uniforms with broken buttons and faded names. The noise of machines drowned out the whispers of danger. But even in the laundry room, the gangs had reach. Deals were made through folded notes, warnings passed through coded glances. When the sun dipped behind the fences, the temperature inside the block changed. By 9 p.m., the doors slammed shut for lockdown. But this night was different. Marcus heard muffled footsteps outside his cell, too quiet for guards. Then came a soft whisper through the vent. "Tomorrow, it's your turn." His heart pounded. He knew exactly what that meant. Inside Redwood, whispers like that were never just words. They were warnings, and they always came true. Marcus barely slept that night. Every creak of the metal pipes, every shuffle in the hallway made his heart race. The vent that carried that whisper still hissed softly above his bed. He lay on his back, staring at the ceiling, counting the seconds until morning. When the 5 a.m. siren blared again, it wasn't just another day. It was survival day. He rose from his bunk, his mind foggy but alert. The guards shouted for headcount, and the cell doors clanked open one by one. The echo of keys and footsteps filled the block like a drumbeat. Marcus stood at attention, his hands at his sides, eyes straight ahead. When Officer Daniels passed his cell, he nodded slightly, a rare show of trust between a guard and an inmate. Daniels had seen fear before. He recognized it instantly in Marcus's eyes. In the mess hall, tension was heavy. The smell of powdered eggs and burnt toast hung in the air. Marcus grabbed his tray and sat in the far corner, away from everyone. But even distance couldn't save him from being watched. Across the room, a group of inmates in dark blue uniforms stared at him, the Iron Kings, one of the most feared groups in Redwood. Marcus didn't know them anything, but rumors said one of their members had been caught snitching. And in prison, when one man talks, everyone connected to him becomes a target. Mid-morning brought the yard break, the only time inmates saw sunlight. The open sky was cut by razor wire and guard towers, and even freedom looked trapped. Marcus walked in slow circles, pretending not to notice the group forming near the fence. They weren't working out or talking. They were watching him. By noon, he was back in the laundry room, folding uniforms. That's when he saw it, a piece of paper tucked inside one of the shirts. It was a note, scribbled in pencil. "Keep quiet. Stay away from the yard at sunset." Marcus froze. His hands trembled as he slid the paper into his pocket. Someone inside was trying to help him. But who? When 6 p.m. came, the tension in the air was thick enough to taste. Dinner passed quietly, but the looks from the Iron Kings were sharper now. They knew something. Marcus tried to keep his head down, but one of them leaned over his shoulder and whispered, "You think you can hide?" The 9 p.m. lockdown bell rang, echoing through the corridors. The guards shouted for inmates to return to their cells. Marcus's pulse raced as his door slammed shut. He leaned against the wall, trying to calm his breathing. Then, a shadow appeared outside his cell window. It wasn't a guard. The figure moved slowly, deliberately, holding something in his hand. The metal glint under the dim blue light made Marcus's stomach drop. Someone had come for him. The light flickered in the hallway outside Marcus's cell. For a split second, he saw the shape of the man standing there. Broad shoulders, tattoos snaking up his neck, eyes cold as stone. Marcus froze, every muscle in his body tight. The figure tapped the glass once with something metallic, the glint of a sharpened piece of metal, then disappeared into the shadows. Marcus's breath came in quick, shallow bursts. His hands trembled as he pressed his ear to the door. He could hear faint whispers, 2, maybe 3 voices, and the shuffle of feet moving down the tier. He wasn't the only one awake. Somewhere on the other end of the block, a guard's radio crackled, then went silent. That silence was worse than any sound. In prison, silence meant something was about to happen. Morning came, but the fear didn't fade. Marcus hadn't slept at all. When the 5 a.m. headcount started, he moved slower than usual, his eyes darting to every corner of the tier. Officer Daniels noticed. "You look like you've seen a ghost, Reed," he muttered. Marcus just shook his head. "Not a ghost," he whispered. "Something worse." Breakfast came and went in a blur of noise and movement. Marcus didn't eat, he couldn't. His stomach felt like a stone. Around 10 a.m., he was sent to the library to clean. It was quiet there, too quiet. The room smelled of old books and disinfectant. As he swept the floor, he heard the heavy door open behind him. He turned and saw 2 inmates from the Iron King step in, their faces calm, almost casual. "You got something that don't belong to you," one of them said. Marcus's throat went dry. He knew what they meant, the note from the laundry room. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, his voice barely steady. The taller man smiled. "You will." They stepped closer, and Marcus backed away until he hit the wall. Just then, the door opened again. Officer Daniels. "Reed, you're wanted in Block B," he said, his tone sharp. The 2 inmates slipped out, pretending to be busy with books. Marcus followed Daniels out fast, heart pounding. The officer didn't look back. He just said quietly, "You need to keep your head down. They're watching." By afternoon, Marcus was reassigned to kitchen duty. The clang of pots and hiss of steam filled the air. It felt safer there, crowded, noisy, hard for anyone to make a move. But safety in Redwood was an illusion. As he scrubbed the trays, he saw a reflection in the metal. The same tattooed man from the night before, standing by the supply door. Their eyes met. The man raised one finger to his lips, signaling silence. Then he nodded toward the back exit. Marcus's blood ran cold. He knew what that meant. It was time. The next move would decide whether Marcus walked out of the kitchen alive, or didn't walk out at all.